Hello and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to create our directory structure for our application. So let's do that. You need to go to your XAMPP folder after you install the XAMPP. In Windows it should be in the, by default it's going to be installed in the Windows drive. So let me show you the XAMPP folder. Here's my Windows drive. Here's the XAMPP. Go to the XAMPP and you need to go to this htdoc folder. And inside this htdoc folder we're going to create folder for our application. I actually redirect this location for this htdoc folder to my desktop, so I can actually create folder here. So you need to go to your XAMPP location and create folder there. And now here we can create our website folder. This will be my Whisper, and inside here we need to create two more folders. One will be the backend. Inside the backend is going to be the PHP file, and this will be the front end, and there will be our HTML, CSS and images files right here. And in the backend we can actually create a new folder as well, and this will be classes to store our PHP classes. And now to test this out we need to create a index.php file right in the root directory. So we can just create an index.php file, and we can open this up with our code editor. And let me just echo something here. Let's say echo hello there. Now let's test this out. Go to your localhost and my Whisper, and as you can see it says hello there, which means our server is fully running. Now we can actually develop our application. So that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to install a XAMPP in our local computer to make a web server environment in our computer to run PHP and MySQL so we can build our application. So let's do that. First of all, you need to go to your Google and search for XAMPP, XAMPP. Hit enter, and the first link you should see apachefriends.org. Click on that, and this is a home page for the XAMPP, and from here you can download the XAMPP for your operating system. So if you are on the Windows you can just download for the Windows, and if you are on the Mac you can just download for your Mac OS, and if you are Linux user just like mine you can just download for the Linux. And after you install it, just like a normal application, you should see the control panel. Not exactly like this, but you should see the control panel just like this. And all you need to do to run a PHP and MySQL, you need to start this Apache web server. Click on the start button, and also the MySQL database. Now it should take a few seconds to start up the MySQL server and Apache. And now as you can see it says running. Now we can test this out by going localhost, and as you can see it takes us to the dashboard. That means our web server is fully working and we can now develop our application. And so that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to create our directory structure for our application. So let's do that. You need to go to your XAMPP folder after you install the XAMPP. In Windows it should be in the, by default it's going to be installed in the Windows drive. So let me show you the XAMPP folder. Here's my Windows drive. Here's the XAMPP. Go to the XAMPP and you need to go to this htdoc folder. And inside this htdoc folder we're going to create folder for our application. I actually redirect this location for this htdoc folder to my desktop, so I can actually create folder here. So you need to go to your XAMPP location and create folder there. And now here we can create our website folder. This will be my Whisper, and inside here we need to create two more folders. One will be the backend. Inside the backend is going to be the PHP file, and this will be the front end, and there will be our HTML, CSS and images files right here. And in the backend, we can actually create a new folder as well, and this will be classes to store our PHP classes. And now to test this out, we need to create a index.php file right in the root directory. So we can just create an index.php file, and we can open this up with our code editor. And let me just echo something here. Let's say echo hello there. Now let's test this out. Go to your localhost and my whisper, and as you can see, it says hello there, which means our server is fully running. Now we can actually develop our application. So that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to create our main page for our application. So let's do that. You need to download the template files from this lecture, and after you download the file, you should get this project zip file right here. You need to extract the files right here and go to this index.html file. Just open up this index.html file with your code editor. Copy all the codes from here, and now you need to open up your index.php file from your root directory, this my whisper root directory. Open this PHP file with your code editor. I just open the project folder with my code editor, and I can just paste all the codes right here. And now again go to the project files we download, and we need to go to the front end folder, and we need to copy these two folders as well. And now go to this project folder and go to front end and paste the folders here. Now we should have the main index page for our application, and as you can see, this will be our main index page, and as you can see, it fully loaded. So that's going to be it for now, and if you have any question, you can ask me. So in the next lecture, what we are going to do, we actually going to create JavaScript function to submit this form. Right now, if you select the file, it's not going to submit the form. We need to actually create a JavaScript function. When we select a file to upload to our application, it's going to submit the form. So that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello again. In this lecture, we are going to create a JavaScript function. So when we select a file using file input form, let me select a file. So let's select a file. As you can see, it does nothing. So what we need to do, we need to create a JavaScript function that actually submit the page when we select the file. So we need to actually submit the form. In the PHP side, we can actually get the file and validate this file, and we can actually create a function to get the content of this video or audio file into the text. So let's do that. So we are going to use jQuery for our function, for our JavaScript function. So scroll down to your index.php file. So go to your index.php file and scroll down to the bottom until you find this comment JS code. Here we need to open up our script tag. Close the script tag. You don't need to link anything because I already added the jQuery file right here. As you can see, we have this jQuery link. So you don't need to add this jQuery link. But right inside here, let me show you what we need to do. We need to select this input file, input form, which is right from here. As you can see, we have this file input with the ID file upload. So we need to create a jQuery function. First, let's check if the page is fully loaded. So we'll say document.ready function. Let me end this right here. And inside here, we need to run a function when page is fully loaded. Now inside here, we need to get the file input by selecting the ID, which is file-upload. Here's our file input. As you can see, now we need to call a function which is change to check if user selected a file, and inside here we need to run a function whenever the file input is changed, which means user is selected the file. Now we need to check if user has selected the file. So we'll say if this actually refers from this, so we can just say this dot files, which is selected, and we need to check the length of the file. So we'll say a length property will be here, and we can say if it's a greater than 0, which means file is selected, we can submit this form. So we already have an ID for this form. Let me show you this form as well. So we have this file input, and we have this form here, as you can see, with the ID form. We don't have a submit button, so we're going to use the jQuery function, which we are doing right now. So we can actually call this form by selecting this form with the form ID, and we can simply say submit. Call a function, submit function, and this will submit the file. Let's test this out. Refresh the page, select the file, and as you can see, it submitted the file. Now when we submit the file, we need to actually display this loader, a loading image, when we upload the file. Let me comment this out, this div. You can search for this upload div. You can add a hidden class. Let me show you the loading image. So I added a hidden class to hide this div. Because we use Tailwind, we can use this hidden class, and I can remove the hidden class from here, from our loader image, and when you refresh the page, you should see the loading image. As you can see, we are going to display this loading image. For that, we need to add again hidden class right here to hide this loading image, and remove the hidden class from here. Now what we need to do, we need to actually remove hidden class from the loader div, and add the hidden class to the main content. Let me refresh this page to this main content. So right below here, we need to select the loader div by the ID is loader, which is here. As you can see, we have this ID loader, and we can say dot remove class. We are actually using this remove class function to remove the class from the div. Now we need to remove the hidden class. As you can see, we already have this hidden class right here to hide the div, and we can end the line, and we can copy and paste this and change this to add class, to add a class to our upload div, the main div, where we display all these images and the input form. So we can just call this upload div, and we add a hidden class. Now when you select an image, you should see the loading image, but it's actually submit the file so fast you don't see the loading image. But right now we are actually displaying this loading image, and when we upload it to PHP site, you should see this loading image. So that's going to be it for now, and if you have any question, you can ask me, and see you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to validate our image form. When we select the image, is going to submit the file. In the PHP side, we can actually get this file and validate this file. So we can actually create a function using the AI to get the content of this video audio file and convert into the text. So let's do that. You need to go to your index.php file, and above right here, we need to open up our PHP tag. And the first thing we need to do, we need to create a new file in the backend folder, and this is going to be int.php file, and we are going to use this file later in this project to instantiate the classes. I will explain this later, but for now, create this file in the backend folder. Now in the index.php file, we need to include this file. So we'll say include, and this will be the file we created in the backend folder. and this will be int.php file. Now we need to create a PHP if condition to check the method of the request. So when we select the file, it will send a post request. Now we need to make sure if it's a post request. So we'll say $server super global variable, which basically contains information about the server. So we can use another property to check the request type. So we'll say request underscore method, and this should be triple equal to post. So what we done here, we actually check if it's a post request, then continue. So right below here, now we need to make sure if our file is selected, if our file is posted. So we'll say is set underscore files, and here will be the file element name. So if you scroll down, you should see the file input right here with the name file, and we can actually add this right here. We'll say file. So when the file is set, we need to make sure it's not empty. So we'll say if not empty using an empty function underscore files. Here will be the file name, and right after here the closing bracket, we need to add another bracket, and this will be the file name. We are basically checking the file name, and this will be the file, the first file we select. It's not empty, then we need to continue, otherwise we can set an error, or we can actually set the error right after here when we check if the file is set. So right here, let's create an error message here. This will be error equal to our error message. So we can say please select a file to convert into a text. And now we can display this error right below here. You can see this committed div error comment. We can just uncomment this, and right above here we can open and close our PHP bracket, and we can create a if condition, and we can say if it's set the error variable we created above, we can display this error, and we can end our if condition right here. So when the error is set, we can actually display this error right here, and right here will be the error. So we can open and close the PHP bracket again, and we can echo our error variable. Refresh the page, nothing happens, we are good to go. So above right here, we need to get the type of the file. So we can say file type variable is going to be equal to underscore files, again file, and this will be the type of the file. And now we can actually dump this out. File type. Let's refresh the page and select the file to upload. And as you can see, we get the file type right here, video-mp4. So later on in the lecture, we can use this type to check if it's a video file or audio file. So we can actually update the type in the database, because we are actually saving the video file, user upload or audio file in the project, also in the database, and we can use this type to store in the database. And now I think we are good to go for this lecture, and in the next lecture we can actually create a PHP class where we can create a function to take this file we uploaded using the form and check validate this file, and if all the validation is passed, then we're going to upload this file in our website directory. So that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to create our first PHP class. In that class we are going to create our upload method that will allow us to upload the file to our server. So the class is a basically blueprint for creating objects in object-oriented programming, defining their properties, attributes, and behavior, what you call methods, and what I will be calling in this course. So the methods is actually the functions. So we are going to create a functions for our application that will allow us to do certain things like upload the file, convert the video audio file into the tag, store the file, update the file, things like that. So to store all the methods, all the function for our application, we need a class. In that class we're going to create the functions, what we call methods. So let's do that. We need to create a new PHP file in the classes folder, and we're going to name it whisper.php with capital W. And to define the class, we need to open the PHP block, and we can simply say class, and here will be the class name, which will be the Whisper. So this is how we define the class. And now we need to create the function, what we call methods, and what I will be calling in this course. So to define a method, a function, you can just type the function and the name of the function, which will be upload, just like this. And here it will take the file which we will be providing from our index.php file. Right from here we're going to call this function from this class, but we need to also set the visibility scope for this function. So we can add a keyword for that, which will be a public. By adding this public means this function or method can be accessed anywhere in our project, and there are other visibility scopes as well. Now we have created the method, and what we will do to test this out, we can actually say return the file, save the file, and now we need to instantiate this class in order to access the class method. Right now we have created the class, but we haven't created this instance of this class to access the method. So we already have a PHP file for that, the int.php. If you remember, go to this int.php file. First of all, we need to include this file, the Whisper file we created. So we'll say require, and here will be the classes folder and the class whisper.php. Now to get the method of this Whisper class, we need to instantiate an object that can be accessible anywhere in our project. So we can name this Whisper obj equal to new keyword. This new keyword is actually define the instance of the class. So here we can actually call the class just like this. So we actually instantiate the class, and we created the instance of the class right from here for this class right here. Now we have this object that is actually the class, and we can use inside our object because we already added the int php file. We can call this object right here. I can just call this object. So we'll say var dump whisper obj, and we can call the method upload. Now we need to provide the file. We can say files, file, and here will be name and the first file. Now let's test this out, and also we need to end the line as well. Now let's test this out, and now we get the error and it says failed to open the file. Let's see what happened in our int.php file. We have a typo right here for the file name. Just rename the file to Whisper, and that will fix our issue, as you can see. And now let's select the file, and it returns back the file, and we can actually just provide the file, save the file, refresh the page, and now as you can see it returned back the file name, the full path of the file as you can see, and the file type as well as you can see. So we have successfully created a PHP class, and in that class we create a function, and later on we can actually create more condition in this function to actually upload the file we uploaded. So that's going to be it for now, and if you have any question you can ask me, just message me, I will surely help you out. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture we are going to actually create a condition for our upload method to actually upload the file. So let's do that. We need to remove this from here. Now we actually pass the file. If you remember, in the index.php file we pass the file. We can create a variables to get that file name, file path, and the name of the file or the size, anything like that. So we'll say file temp, tmp for the temporary location of the file, and this is going to be equal to our file variable, and this will be tmp underscore name, the temporary location of the file, and we'll say file name is going to be equal to file, and this will be the file name. And now we can use another function for that. You can say base name to actually get the name of the file. So this base name function is basically used to extract the file name from the given path, and now we get the file name. After that we can say _, file size is going to be _, file, and this will be the file size because our array is going to return the file size as well. Copy and paste this for the errors and change this to errors. And after that we need to get the file type, so we can say mime is going to be equal to file type of the file. Now we get the type of the file as well, which we can use to check if we allowed this file to upload. And now we need to get the extension, the file extension, right below here. So you can say get file extension. So we'll create a variable for that. We'll say extract, and this is going to be equal to the path info function. Path info function basically provide the information about a file path, including details like file directory, file name, extension, and more. So what we can do here inside the file path info, we can provide the file name to get the information about the file. And now we want to set the option to return the information about file extension. So we can say path info underscore extension, and this will return the information about the extension, the file extension. And after that extension, the extension variable is going to be equal to str to lower function to actually lowercase the file name, and here will be our extract variable, the extension variable. Now we need to lowercase the file extension as well. Now we get the file extension of our file, we upload it, we try to upload it, and now we need to create another variable. We need to get the parent directory 2 levels above the current directory, so we can actually upload the file into our project. So we'll say parent directory variable is going to be equal to dr name to extract the directory path from the script path. So here we are actually saying we need to get the directory from the path, and here we will providing the path. So again we can say dr name because we want to go 2 levels back to the directory to get the file. So again, paste this function is here as well. And now we can use PHP constant to provide the full path for our current PHP script. So here we can say 2 underscores file 2 underscores. It looks confusing, I know, but let me explain it more clearly. So here we basically say get the parent directory from 2 levels above the current directory. So we need to actually get to the root directory, and from here we can get to the folder, the files folder we're going to create where we're going to store the files. So this is basically parent directory where we're going to upload the files. Save the file, and if you still don't get, you can actually send me a message or post your question. I will explain you more. Now right below here we need to create a new array to list the allowed media for upload files, and we can say allowed media, and it is going to be equal to array, and here we're going to provide the file extent file type. Let's say you want to allow users to upload video file, and this is going to be video MP4, and we're going to also allow users to upload audio, and this is going to be meg, and this is going to be meg 3, and this is going to be wave file as well, and you can add more file if you want to allow users to upload that. And let's also add one more for the video. We can just copy this from here and paste right after here, and this will be our mmeg. Save the file and end the line. And now right here, this is the main part. So right here, the first thing we will check if the file is allowed in our allowed array. For that we can use inArray method to check the given file in the array. So here will be the type of the file. If you remember, we get the file type right here, so we provide the file type here, and we need to search the file type into the allowed array right here. So if the file exists in the allowed array, we can continue, otherwise we can set an error. So we can say this means basically from this class, and we're going to create a new property, what you usually call variable. So we'll say error, and this is going to be public to set the visibility, and we should end the line. And now here we can set the error, and this is going to be equal to, let's say, our error, and we can say invalid file format. Save the file, and inside here now we can check the file size variable we created right here, as you can see, and we can check if it's less than equal to 20 MB. So we can say, we can convert this actually. Just go to Google and search for 20 MB in bytes. Click on this link right here for the byte converter, and we need to add to MB right here. Click in the convert. Here's our 20 MB in bytes. Now paste right here. Now we are actually allowing 20 MB for the file to upload, and if the file is greater than 20 MB, we can set the error right here. We can say this error is going to be file is large. And now inside here, when all the thing is good, we can actually upload the file. But first we need to create a folder variable for the location where we're going to upload the file. So this is going to be equal to files folder, which we are going to create. So let's create this folder right here. So this will be files where we're going to upload the files. So this is going to be files, and after that we'll say file equal to, now we are going to actually create the file name, and we're going to use the folder name, and again we're going to concatenate a md5 function. I will explain this in a moment. We are actually creating the file name, and inside the md5 function we're going to get the current time using the current time, and then we're going to concatenate another function mt underscore rand to get the random number of a string. And after that we need to concatenate the file extension. So this will be dot for our file extension, and if you remember, we get the file extension using this variable right here, and we can concatenate this variable right here. This will be our file extension. Just end the line. Now let me explain this MD5 as well. So this MD5 is basically calculates the MD hash value of the given string, and the time is basically, this time function basically returns the current time stamp, and this empty rand generates a random integer. Now we get the file name, and we can actually upload the file. To upload the file, we need to use another function, which is move uploaded file, and this will take the temporary file where the file is stored. When you select the file and upload the file, it basically store in a temporary directory in PHP. So we are actually getting that file we uploaded, and here will be the location where we want to upload the file. So here will be the parent directory, and again we need to concatenate our the file location. So here will be the slash, and again we are going to concatenate the file name right here. And after we upload the file, we need to also return the file name. And now in our function right here, to test this out, we can say if the file variable we're going to create, just remove the var dump from here and create a file variable. After we get the file name, if you remember, when we upload right here the file, it's going to return the file name. So we're going to store the file name right here, and after we get the file name, we check if we get the file name right here, we can var dump this out. Let's try this up. Refresh the page, select the file to upload, and as you can see, it returned back the file name, and let's see if it uploaded the file. So let's go back to our project folder, the files folder, and as you can see, it successfully uploaded the file. So which means our method is fully working, and we have created a method to upload the file. Remember, we haven't used this error variable to display the error, but we can actually do that later. But we have created a function to upload the file. So that's going to be it for now, and if you have any question, you can ask me and I will surely help you out. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to create our MySQL database to store our uploaded files into the database. In the previous lecture, we have created a method to upload the files. In this lecture, we're going to create our database where we're going to store the files to actually display the files in the recent generated files area that you're going to see in this course as well. So let's do that. To create the database, you need to go to your localhost /phpMyAdmin and click on the databases right here. And now here we need to type the name of the database, which will be MyWhisper. Click on that. And the number of column is going to be 5 for our new table, and this table is going to be files. Now click on the create button, and the first column is going to be ID of the file we uploaded, and we need to check this checkbox for auto increment, and we need to set the primary key as well. And after that, there's going to be file name, and this is going to be varchar 255, and this is going to be the file URL. This is going to be varchar as well, and this will be the location of the file where we store the file, and this is going to be translated. And the translated in this project, we're going to allow us to get the content of the video audio file into plain text, and we can use that text to actually translate into many languages. So we need to create a column for that as well, and this is going to be text, and by default we need to set it to null, and this will be lang. To store the language we convert it, so there's going to be washer as well. And we need to add one more column as well. Just click on the go button right here. So this will add a new column, and this will be the type, and we need to select enum for that. Just scroll down until you find this. This should be right here. Let me scroll down here, and inside this text area you need to add two single quotes, and inside here we need to allow two values to be uploaded. So one is going to be audio and the other is going to be video. So for that we'll say audio, comma, again single quote, and this is going to be video, single quote. Now click on the save button. Now click on the browse tab, and as you can see we successfully created our table. Now this is going to be it for now, and see you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to actually create our PHP connection to the database. In the previous lecture we have created a database with the table files. Now in this lecture we're going to create a PHP class that will allow us to connect with our database, so later we can actually upload the files to the database and update the file location and display in our application right here. So let's do that. You need to go to your code editor, create new class, the new PHP file. In the classes folder, db.php file, and we need to actually include this class, include this file right in the end PHP. Copy and paste this and change this to db.php file, and right here we need to define the database class, so you can say class db, and right here we need to define the function, and this will be connect, and we're going to call this function to connect with our database. Right now here we need to try for the connection, and if it fails we need to catch the PHP error display. So right inside here we need to create a db variable, and this is going to be equal to new PDO. This PDO basically stands for PHP data objects, and it is a database abstraction layer, and that will allow us to interact with our database. Now inside here we need to provide the information about our database to connect with. Now we need to connect with our MySQL database, so we'll say MySQL, and this will be colon, host is going to be equal to localhost, and we need to add semicolon right here, and we need to provide the database name we created in the previous lecture, which is MyWhisper, and we need to end the line right here, and this will be the username. By default is going to be root, and we don't have a password for that. If you have MySQL username and password, you can add right here. And after that we need to return the database connection we made, and if we get the error we can say PDO exception. We need to set exception to get the error if we get any error, so you can say PDO exception, and we need to create a variable for that, and now we can say echo connection failed, and here will be our error, so we can concatenate the error variable right here, so this will display the error. Now we can test this out, but first of all we need to go to our Whisper class. Right here we need to actually call this connect method to make a connection with our MySQL database. So we can say public function, and this will be a construct function. This construct basically is a special method that automatically call whenever you create an object of the class. So we create the object right here. it would automatically call this method whenever we refresh the page. So here we need to create a connection to our MySQL database using this method from this class. So we can create a new variable for that right above here, and this will be a private, and here will be DB. The private is going to be only accessible in this class. So right here we can say we need to create a DB variable, and this is going to be equal to new DB. Now we instantiate the class, this class right here. We can say this DB is going to be equal to DB connect method. Now we have this connection, and inside our PHP file right here, to test this out, we can actually right after here we can echo connected to test this out. Now let's test this out. When you refresh the page, it says connected, which means we successfully connected to our database. Now we can use this database to store files and update the files. But if you change the database name here, which doesn't exist, when you refresh, it should display the error. As you can see, unknown database whisper 1, as you can see. Now change this to whisper and remove this echo as well. We know our function is fully working. Refresh the page. Now as you can see, our method is fully working and we made a connection to our PHP file. And that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, you need to create a free OpenAI account to get the API key from the OpenAI platform. So you need to go to your platform.openai and you need to create a free account. And after you created an account, you will be redirected to this page, and you need to click on your profile image or your profile name right here and click on the API keys, and from here you can create a new secret key right here, and the name of the key, let's say my whisper, and click on the create secret key button. Now you need to copy this API key and then click on the done button. Now go to your in.php file from your code editor, from your backend folder. And now below here, we need to define a constant to store our API key that we are going to use in this course. So we'll say defined, and we're going to define a constant that cannot be changed and can be accessible in anywhere in our project. So we'll say API token, and here will be the value. Just paste the API key right here and we are good to go. In this application, we can use this constraint to actually get the API key. So that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to create a new method to actually get the API URL, because we are going to use two types of the API URL in this application. One is going to be allow us to convert video audio into text. The other one is going to be allow us to translate that text into many other languages. So go to your OpenAI platform. So go to your platform.openai.com and click on the documentation, and here click on the speech to text tab right here, and here you can see how you can send the request to the API, and from here change it to curl, and here you can say we need to send request to this API. Just copy this API link from here and we need to create a new method right here. But first of all, we need to define a new property, and this will be, let's say, data type, and this will be the data type to let us know we want to convert video audio or we want to translate the word. So we're going to set the data type when we want to translate the video audio into text, or when we want to translate the text into other language. So we're going to use this data type. And right below, and let's say right below this construct method, we need to create this public function. The name of the function is going to be get API URL. And now here we check if this data type is triple equal to double quote ASR, automatic speech recognition. Then we're going to say return this URL we copy from the API. Otherwise, we need to return the API URL for the translation. It's going to be same as this, but we need to change this to chat/completion. Remove the space from here, save the file, end the line right here, and we have a typo here as well, and remove the extra t from here. And we can also create a new function to store the errors as well. So let's say public function, this will be errors, and this will just return the error, this error. If you remember, we set this error right here as well. Later on we can actually use this method to display the errors. Right now we set two API links which we can use to actually convert the video audio into the text, or other one is going to be the translation. So that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to create another method. So we're going to create a header method to actually set the API header to send it to the crawl request. I will explain this later, but all you need to know, we need to send HTTP request to our API link. In the previous lecture we created the link method that allows us to get the link for the API for translation and the ASR for automatic speech recognition. So now we need to send the header as well. As you can see, it requires us to send the header with the API key. If you remember, we created an API key and store into our int.php. We need to create a method to set this header before we can actually send the file to the API. So let's do that. Go to your Whisper class, and right below here we need to create a new function. This is going to be public function, and the name of the function is going to be get header. And here again we're going to check if this data type is triple equal to ASR, which means we want to convert video audio into text. Then we're going to say return the array, and this will be authorization, and here will be bearer, and we need to concatenate the API key here as well. So API underscore token, add comma, this is from the NPHP, right from here. As you can see, API token, copy this and paste right here as well. And after that we need to set the content type. So we'll say content type hyphen type colon, and here we need to define what we want to return or send. So we'll say multi-part slash form, it should be part form hyphen data, and we need to end the line. We need to copy this and we need to set else, and we want to set the header for the translation, and we need to change the content type, and we want to change the content type to applications slash JSON to send the request as a JSON format. Now save the file and we are good to go. So here what we did, we created a method to set the header to send it to our API using the HTTP request. So in the previous lecture we created a method to set the URL, and this lecture we created the header to send with the API key. So that's going to be it for now. In the next lecture, what we are going to do, we're going to use our crawl request to actually send the HTTP request to the AI, and the AI will return the content of the file. So that's going to be it for now, and if you have any question, just ask me and message me. I will surely help you out, and don't forget to leave a review on this course if you like. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to create a method to set our data to send it to our API. If you go to your platform.openai.com and click on the documentation and click on speech to text tab right here and change it to CRUL, you can see it requires the URL which we set. It requires the header with the API token. We already set that. Now it requires a file to actually convert that video audio file into text. It also required the model. Then it will return back this text of the file. Now we can make this happen by creating a method. Right now we're just writing the methods. We haven't created any HTTP request to the API. So we're going to use this method we create, and we're going to use CRUL to actually send this data to our API. Now let's create this method. We can just copy this get header method and we can paste right below here, and we can change the name of the method to get data, and inside right here we can say it requires a file. So this will be this file property which we will create, and right below here will be the model, and the model is going to be whisper-1. Save the file, and now let's create this file property right below here. So this will be public file, and also create new property. This will be lang for the language. I will explain this later. And this one is going to be a content. We're going to use this too later on this course when we want to translate the content of the file we get from the API into the different language. Then we're going to use these two properties. Right now we create this property. This will be our file upload in the index.php file. So this will be this file. After we upload, we're going to set this property. The file property will be the uploaded file. So this will be the uploaded file, and we set inside our data so we can send it to our API. And now in the else block we can set our properties for our translation. So we can use ChatGPT to actually ask the AI to translate the content, this content variable we set, which will be the return content from the API, to translate it to different language. We can do this right here. So if you go back to your documentation, the OpenAI API documentation, and click on this ChatGPT chat completion API, right here as you can see it takes the model messages array, and here it's a message. It requires the role system. Here you can set whatever role API should follow. Here we will tell the AI to actually translate the content we provide and return back the translation. So right inside here we can say model is going to be GPT-3.5-turbo. You can also use different model if you want. You can also use ChatGPT 4 if you want. And this will be messages, and this will be an array, and inside here will be the messages, the role we want to give to the AI to follow. So here we'll say role will be system, and we can actually make it readable, and we can say the content and here will be the prompt. Let me add the comma. And now here we will be providing a prompt to actually ask the ChatGPT AI to translate the content into a specific language. So we're going to use these two variables, the lang and the content, to actually tell ChatGPT to translate this content into this language. So right here we can say you will be provided with a tags, and your task is to translate it into space, give some space, and right here we're going to concatenate this length just like this, and we're going to add comma right here. We can just copy this array, paste right below here as well, and now here will be the role to user, and here will be the content we want to translate. Just remove this, and this will be content which you want to translate. And also we want to remove this comma right from here, and also we need to use another PHP function, JSON encode, to actually convert this string, this array, into a JSON string, so we can actually send it to our API using the curl request. That way I will tell you about in the next lecture. So here what we did, we actually create a function, and here we check if the data type is ASR. Then we know we user actually want to convert video audio file into the text. Then we set the data to send to the API. The file is going to be from the index.php file. After we upload the file, we're going to set this property, the file property, to the actual file, and the model is going to be Whisper1. And otherwise, if user want to translate the content user already have, then we're going to set the model to ChatGPT. You can change this as well, and we set the error, and here we set the instruction to the AI, and we set the prompt right here to tell the AI to actually translate the content into a specific language. And here we have a typo, it should be a task. And I think we are good to go, and that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to create a method to finally send a HTTP request to our API, the AI API, to convert video audio into a text, and that text can be translated in any language. So let's do that. To make a HTTP request we need to use curl, but first of all we're going to create a function right below here, and I think we have a typo right here inside the header function. Sorry about that. It should be authentication, it should be Z, and also we have a typo right here, it should be multi. Now save the file, sorry about that, and now scroll down, and below let's say the get data method, create our method. So it should be public function, and the name of the method is going to be convert. And the first thing we need to do, we need to get the API URL. So we'll say API URL is going to be equal to this get API URL method. If you remember, we have this method right here. We call this method and it will check the data type. If the data type is ASR, then it will return this URL, otherwise it will return this URL. So we need to just call this method right here. Now we have the API URL, and now below here we can set our curl session. Let me explain what is curl. First of all, curl is basically library for making HTTP request. So we can send a HTTP request to send and receive data from third-party web servers. Now to instantiate the curl in our PHP, we can use a PHP built-in function for that to make HTTP requests. So we can say ch for curl session is going to be equal to curl underscore int for instantiate, and it will take the API URL, and here will be the API URL variable. And after that we need to set the curl options. You can say we need to configure what type of request it's going to be, or what type of data we want to send, because we want to send the header and we want to also send the data, so it's going to be a post request. So here we need to configure this curl. So you can say curl underscore set opt, which is basically used to set the curl option, and inside here we need to pass our curl session variable, and we can say curl opt underscore post comma true. This means it's going to be a post request, and copy and paste, and this is going to be, let's say, post fields to send the post data as well with this curl session, and it will take the post data to send. Here we can say this get data method. If you remember, we have this method to return the curl data which we want to send. We can just call this method and it will take the post variables to send. Now copy and paste this, and this will be, let's say, curl opt http header. Now we need to also send the header, because we already have this method to send the header with the API key. We can just call this get header method, and now we can copy and paste this and change this to, let's say, return transfer. To tell we need to actually return the data, so this is going to be true. And after that we need to create a variable, and this is going to be response, and it's going to be equal to curl underscore, and this should be a method, so we'll say curl underscore execute to execute the request, HTTP request, and it will take the curl session. And after that we need to also close the curl connection, just like this, and we need to create a if condition to check if response variable is set, which means it return the response. We can say return, let me scroll down, and we need to return has, we'll say JSON underscore decode, because it will return a JSON encoded string, and we need to pass the response variable, and we need to pass it true. Otherwise we need to set the error, so we can say this error, let's say API request failed, and it should be equal to this error message. And now to send the file, this file we uploaded from here, we need to send it to our API. For that we need to create another function for that to actually create a file object, so we can send it to our curl request. So right above here we can create another function for that. We'll say public function, and the name of the function is going to be get file, and here we'll check if this data type is triple equal to ASR, then this file property is going to be equal to curl underscore file underscore create to actually create a file object, so we can send the file to the HTTP request, and this will be this file. That's it. Now this file is going to be the upload file after we send the curl request, and let me show you how. So just below here we can say whisper obj data type equal to ASR, and then we'll say whisper obj file is going to be equal to the file which returned from the upload after we upload. So this will be this file, and we can actually test this out. But first let's see what we missed in this method. We forgot to call this method. We created this method, but we forgot to call this method. Right after here, we can actually call this method. We can say get file, just like this, just before we set the data to send, just like this. Now we can test this out, refresh this page, and we can select audio file. We should select an audio file or download an audio file that contains a spoken word, or you can also upload a video to test it out. I already have a file for that. It actually upload the file, but I forgot to run this method. Sorry about that. I need to run the method after we upload the file. So again, we'll say whisper and the convert method, right? And we need to also wrap this in a var dump. Refresh the page, and now select the file. As you can see, displaying the uploader loading image. As you can see, loader image. It will take some time. And as you can see, it returned back the text from the audio. As you can see, let me play the audio for you. Here's the audio file.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring.
Yes, it's the same word spoken in the audio, as you can see. So we have successfully created a method to actually send the HTTP request with the file, and it returned back the text, as you can see, which we can use that in the next lecture. So in the next lecture, we're going to create a recent generated file area where we're going to display the uploaded file. Right now, we just be uploading the file in the files folder, but we are not restoring the file in the database. So we're going to do that as well. So that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to create a method to actually save the file into the database. If you remember, we already have a MyWhisper database with the files table. As you can see, we have this table. Let me show you the files table. So what we are going to do, after we upload the file, we're going to call this method from our Whisper class to save the file into the database. So later we can actually display another page where you can actually view the file with the recent generated files, and you can also translate into different language. So let's do that. First of all, go to your Whisper class, and right below here we're going to create a new method. The name of the method is going to be save. It will take the file, the location of the file after it upload, and the content which written from the AI, and which will be the text of the video audio file, and also the type. And now we need to prepare our SQL query to actually execute in our database. We already have a made connection with PHP, as you can see, with our MySQL database using PDO, and we store the information of the PDO in the DB variable right here, if you remember. Now we can call the PDO methods here to actually execute the query. So we'll say statement equal to this DB prepare method to prepare our SQL query to be executed, and inside here it will be our insert query. So we'll say insert into. This is how you actually create insert query to actually insert the data into the database. So this will be files table, and right here will be the columns to be insert, and after right here the values will be here. And for the values, we can actually replace with the placeholder to avoid SQL injection. For file, we can say file URL, comma, and this will be the content. It should be replaced with the column for our placeholder. and this will be type. And we're going to replace this placeholder to actually bind with this actual variables, but using different method so we can avoid SQL injection. It's a basically safer way to execute SQL queries. And now inside here will be the column to insert. So this will be file, and this will be content, and this will be type. If you remember, right here, click on the files table, click on the structure, and as you can see we have this column and we have this translate, and this translated should be null, and this language as well. So let me select these two columns, and let me change the default type. This should be null as well. Save the file, save the table. So we have this table, as you can see, with the name, file URL, and translated. So right here, this will be our column name, and the file should be file URL, because we have this column, file URL. Save the file, and after that, now we need to call another function which is bind param, which basically used to bind parameter to a placeholder. We have this placeholder for the variables. We need to call this placeholder to bind with this variable, so we can use this method for that. So right here we're going to call our placeholder, which will be file URL, and we need to bind with file, and here will be the data type. So we'll say PDO colon prom underscore str. We are basically telling the PDO it's a string. Now copy and paste this for content and copy and paste this for type. This will be content and this will be type. Copy, paste right here, copy, paste right here. And after that we need to execute the query using execute method, and after all this we can return the last generated ID, and this will be the file ID. So when we save the file, right here when we insert the file, it will return the ID column, so you can redirect the user to the file user generated. So let's say return this db last insert ID with capital I here as well. End the line, and I think we are good to go. Now go to your index.php file, and here we're going to call another method to get the type of the file. So basically we are validating the file. Now inside here we need to just remove this from here. So after we upload the file, right here we need to set data type. Here just copy and paste right here. After we upload the file, we need to set the data type property and remove this as well. And then we're going to create a variable, the text variable, and this is going to be equal to whisper obj, and we're going to call the convert method. And after we convert the file, we get the text, and now we need to get the file type. So let's say if str pose, this function is basically used to check if a string contain a substring. I will explain this more. So inside here we'll say the file type variable, this variable, and we check right here if this file type has this audio string with the slash, and this should be triple equal to 0 because it will return the position of this string. So if it's a audio file, then we can say the type is going to be audio, and we can say else if, we can check the same thing again, paste right here, and we can say when the file type is a video, then the type variable is going to be video. And now right below here, when everything is done, we can say file ID is going to be equal to whisper obj save method we created right from here. Now we need to pass these parameters to actually save the file. After we get the file from here, get the text from here and the type from here, we can just pass these values here. We can say file will be here, the content is going to be the text. If you remember, in the API documentation for speech to text, this returns, let me show you, this return this data with text. So here this should be text and the type here. Save the file, and now after that, after we save the file, we need to redirect user to the generated file. So we can say header location view.php, which we will create, and the file is going to be equal to this two curly brackets, and here will be the file ID, just like this. So we are actually redirecting user to the recently generated file, and here should be the semicolon. Save the file. Now we have the method and we actually add additional condition, and I think we are good to go. In the next lecture, we're going to create this view.php file to allow users to view the recently generated file. So that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to create our new page where we're going to display the recently generated files. So first of all, go to your code editor, create new file right here, and this will be view.php. Now go to your project files folder. Right from here, open up this view.html file with your code editor, copy all the codes, paste right here, save the file and refresh the page. Now click on this recently generated file link right here. It redirects us to the page where we're going to display the recently generated files. As you can see, we have this player. Here is going to be the video audio player to display the user file, and this will be the text content of the file written by the AI. And from here user can choose the language to translate the content into, and on the left side right here you can see the empty area. This will be the list of the recently generated files. Now let's create a method to display a recently generated file right here. So go to your whisper.php file, copy this method from here, paste right here, change the name of the method to, let's say, get recent list, remove the parameters from here and remove the bind function as well. We just need to execute the query because it's going to be a select query. Remove this query as well. We need to select all from our files table, and we're going to set the descending order. So we'll say order by this mean we need to get the latest result on the first. We need to get the latest result first. So we'll say order by ID column, this ID column, and we're going to set the descending order. So this will return latest file first. And now after that we can say files variable is going to be equal to statement fetch all method to return the data after we execute the query, and we need to return data as object. So we'll say video column fetch underscore obj, and now here we need to create a for each loop to display the list. Right here we can say echo, and inside here will be the word recently generated files. We can say for each loop files as file. Now again go to your project files folder, open this recent list.html file with your code editor, the text editor, copy all the content from here and we can paste right inside here. Let me make it readable. And now we need to change, actually remove this. Now we need to change this ID, the file ID, and we need to concatenate here the file ID, the ID column from here. So when user click on the file, it should redirect you to the page where user can view the file content. And right here, as you can see, two images, one for the video, one for the audio. So here we can actually create a if-else condition. For that we can actually break this echo and we can create if condition right here, but it won't be readable. So what we will do, we will actually use a ternary operator, the shorthand if-else condition, which can be run in the echo. To run this, we can need to concatenate this parentheses, these two parentheses. So inside here will be the if condition, and after the question mark we'll say this will be the true block and this will be the else block, false block, sorry. So inside here we'll say when this file type is triple equal to audio, then we're going to display the audio image right here, else it's going to be a video. So copy this image for the video, paste right here, and this audio paste right inside this block, and we need to remove this from here. So this is our ternary operator, just like this. This is our true block, this is our false block. Now save the file, and right here we need to concatenate file content to display the content of the file. Now we need to use this method to display the latest recently generated files. So go to your view.php file, scroll above until you find recent generated files comment right here. Here we need to open and close PHP tag, and we will say whisper obj get recent list method. Now we need to also include our int.php file right here. So we'll say include backend / int.php file, and now when we refresh the page, nothing happens because we need to actually store the file. In the previous lecture, if you remember, we created condition to save the file, but we haven't saved any files. So let's do that. Go to your main page, select the file to generate the content of the file. It should take some time, and we get the error, column not found, unknown column content. Let's see what happened. In our Whisper class, save method, the content column. Let's see what happened. Go to your database with my Whisper database, and we don't have content column. Then we have name column. Sorry about that. This should be content, and this should be text. Really sorry about this, and remove the default value from here, and it can be nil. Save the file. Now we have this content column. Now we can actually resend the request by clicking on the resend. It should upload the same file, and as you can see, it redirects us to the file after it generates, and we have the recently generated file right here with the content. As you can see, when you click on the file, we have the file right here. In the next lecture, we're going to create a function to actually display the content of the file in the player for this file when we click on this. So that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to create a method to get the file data using the file ID from the URL, and we're going to display the file data right here, and we're going to display the player here as well. So let's do that. First of all, go to your whisper.php file, and we need to create a new method right below here. and we're going to say public function, and the name of the method is going to be get file by id, and this will take the file id. So you can say file id, and here we can actually prepare our SQL statement. We can just copy these methods from here and we can paste right here to save the time. And we can say select all from the files table, and we can set a where clause. So we'll say where id is going to be equal to our file id placeholder. And now we need to bind the file id. So right above here we can say statement bind from file id here as well, and the data type will be here. So we'll say pdo column from underscore integer, int for integer, to tell the pdo is going to be integer value. Now end the line, save the file, and we need to actually use a fetch method to return the column, not all the columns but the column. And after that we can actually just return this, and we can use this method right in this view.php file. So right below this include, we can actually create a if condition to check the get request. So we'll say if underscore server request method is triple equal to get, then we need to make sure if is set underscore get the file. We set the file id after we generate the file, as you can see, after we save the file. So we get this get variable right here, as you can see, this file get variable, and we can get this get variable right here. So when the get variable is set, we need to create a file variable, and we're going to use another the method we created from the Whisper obj, which is get file by id, and we need to provide this id from here. You can say get file, and so this will return the file data from the database. After we get the file, we'll say if the file variable it's not empty, when the file variable is not sent, we need to redirect user to the index page. So here we'll say location index.php file, and above right here as well we need to actually create an empty variable for the file. Now when we get the file, we need to print the file data right here. If you scroll down, you search for content, you should find this content right here. So here we can say open close PHP blog, and we can echo file content, and we can copy this block, refresh the page, hit enter, and as you can see now display the text right here, text for the file. And for the video, if you scroll above until you find this audio player comment and this video player comment, we need to create a if condition right above here. But first we need to open and close PHP tag. We'll say if the file type is triple equal to audio, and then we need to display the below block. We'll say else we need to display this video block, and we need to end the if else condition. Now we need to uncomment this video block as well, and here will be the file. So we need to actually echo the file. So we'll say echo file URL. Copy this, paste right here as well. Now when you refresh, you see The player is loaded. As you can see, we have the file. Now we can play this here as well.
'Twas the night before Christmas. I sprang from my bed.
So we successfully created a condition to actually display the content, and right below here we can actually also display the translated content. If we scroll down until you find this comment translated content right here, we need to create another if condition for that. We'll say if, and we need to end the if else line right here as well, and if else. And here we can say if file translated not equal to empty string, then we're going to display the translated content, which will be right here. So echo file translated. Refresh the page. We didn't get any error. We get the lang. I think we need to check if our translated text is empty or not. It's null. We can say if it's not equal to len and null. We can say not equal to null. Now when you refresh, now it didn't display the lang, as you can see, for the language. Now as you can see, we successfully created a method to display our file data when you click on the file to actually view the file data. So that's going to be it for now. See you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to create a method to update our database. So when we want to update this file content, let's suppose we want to translate this content of the file to French. We select the language and we click on the translate button, and we're going to call the method we're going to create, and inside this method we pass the content we want to translate and the file ID from the URL and the language we select. So let's do that. First of all, go to your Whisper class, and right below here we need to create a new method. This will be update. It will take the file ID and the content, which will be the content of the file to translate into, and here will be the lang for the language. And now here we can say statement equal to this db prepare method, and here will be our update query. So we'll say update files table, and we need to set translated column equal to content placeholder, which will be our content variable, and lang, the language column, is going to be equal to the language, where the ID column is going to be equal to file ID column. And now we need to bind this, so we'll say statement bind from, and we need to bind the translated, so we'll say content will be here, content variable will be here, and the data type will be, let's say, pdo column pro underscore str for string data, copy and paste for language, and copy and paste for file ID. So this will be lang for language we want to translate into, and this will be the lang variable, and this will be file ID here as well. And after this we need to execute the query just like this, and now we are good to go. And I think this is going to be it for now. In the next lecture we're going to create a condition to update the content of the file. So see you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to create a function to actually translate the content of the file to the different language, and I already added a few more files to the list, as you can see. Let's make this translate button work. So go to your view.php file, and right below here we can actually just copy this if condition and paste right here. And this is going to be a post request, because when we select the language from the drop down menu, let me show you this form. We have this form right here, and inside here we have this the drop down menu for the language to select, and we have this submit button with the name translate, and for the language we have the name language, and we're going to validate this form. This is basically this form. So when we click on this translate button, is basically send a post request. So right above here there's going to be a post request, and there's going to be if it's set underscore post, and this is going to be translate, this translate button. Let me show you again, this translate button with the name translate, this translate button. So right inside here, what we did, we actually checked for the file using the get variable. We get the file data, so we're going to use this for the file ID. And right below here we can say when the file variable is set, we need to remove this header function. So when the file variable is set, we need to create a language variable to get the values from the drop down menu, and that's going to be equal to underscore post lang. If you remember, we have this option element with the name, the select element with the name lang, and we have these values, and we're going to end the line. And now we're going to create an array. So we'll say allowed it lang, and this is going to be an array, the list of the allowed languages. So here we can say we need to allow English, and let's say we want to also allow French, Spanish, and German. You can add more languages if you want, and we need to end this line as well. And now right below here we get if condition to check if the posted value, the language we select from here, exists in this array. So we'll say if an array, here will be our language variable and here will be our array. So when the language is found in the allowed array, then we're going to continue, otherwise you can set an error right here. You can say invalid language selected. And now inside here we need to send request to the API to translate the content of the file. We already have the file right here. Now inside here, the first thing we need to do, we need to call our Whisper obj, and we need to set the data type to, let's say, translate. Copy and paste this, and the content is going to be equal to file content, and copy and paste this, and the language property is going to be equal to language. If you remember, we have these properties right inside our Whisper class. Right here we have this file, we have this language, content, and the data type. So right inside the view.php file, right after we set the properties to send, we can create another if condition. So we can say if there is no error, we'll say Whisper obj by adding exclamation mark. We'll say errors method. If you remember, we have this errors method which returns this error property. So when the variable errors property is not set, which means we don't have any errors, then we're going to call our method. So we'll say text variable is going to be whisper obj convert method, and this will send request to the API to translate the content into the selected language, and the selected language is going to be this language from the array when users select this language, and this is going to be this language, and the content is going to be this file content. So this is going to be right here, if you remember. So when the data type is not ASR, then this data is going to be set, and this content is going to be the file content, and this language is going to be the language user want to translate into. Now right after here, right after we send request to the API, it will return the data. Let me show you. Go to your OpenAI API documentation, click on that documentation right here, click on the ChatGPT completion API. So when we send request, it will return back as this data, choices, and inside the choices will be the message, and we get the message right from this array. So what we can do, we can say create another variable. This is going to be translated, is going to be equal to text variable, this text variable, and here will be choices right from here, these choices, and after that we need to get the first response, so this will be 0, and again we need to get the message, so this will be message as well, and after that this will be the content, so this will be our translated content. And now we can use this to update the file. So we'll say whisper obj update method, and here will be file ID to update, and the translated, which will be the content, and this will be our language. If you remember, we have this column, the language column. Save the file, and we can actually test this out. Refresh this file, and let's say you want to translate this text into French. Click on this translate button, and we have a typo right here. It says we don't have this method, so let's say this will be convert. Now again select the language, click on the translate button. It will take some time. Let's refresh the page, and as you can see, it actually display the translated content right here. Let's go to the v.php file, and right below here where we display the translated content, this should be right here. We need to copy this PHP block, paste right here, and this will be lang for the language. When you refresh, as you can see, we successfully created a method to actually translate the content. But in the next lecture, we need to create a method to display the loading image when we translate the content, and we need to also display the errors as well. And one more thing, after we send request, we need to refresh the page as well. So paste right here, this will be view.php file is going to be equal to, and we need to concatenate file ID, just like this. And let's try this up. We need to translate it to French. Click on the translate button, and as you can see, it actually translates into Spanish. So we successfully created a method to translate our content. In the next lecture, we're going to display the loader image right here when we translate, and we need to also display the error messages. So see you in the next lecture. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to create a jQuery function to actually display the loader image when we translate the content. So we're going to hide this translated content, and we're going to display our loader image. and we're going to also display the errors if there is any error. So let's do that. First of all, go to your view.php file and scroll down until you find this comment error here. We need to uncomment this div, and right above here we need to create if condition just like we did for our index.php file. If you remember, we display the error just like we did here. We need to just copy this from here and paste right here to save the time, and we need to end this if condition just like this. Now we need to display the error, so we'll open and close PHP tag and we'll say echo error just like this. And we need to also check if there is any error in the API. We're going to display right here, so we'll say error variable is going to be equal to, but first of all we'll say or there is an error in the API, we should display that. So we'll say error variable is going to be equal to the whisper obj, and here we'll say errors methods, and now to display the error right here. That's it. Now to display the loader image, just like we did for index.php file, we need to open up the script tag right below here for our JavaScript jQuery code. So scroll down to your bottom of your file and open up the script tag, and the first thing you need to do, you need to create a click event for this translate button with the ID translate btn. So add translate btn here, and we'll say on click run a function, and this function inside here, what we need to do, we need to first of all get the height of this scroll to scroll down automatically. So we'll say let scroll height equal to this scroll div. We add the scroll ID to this main div where we display this scroll. Let me search for this ID. Scroll above until you find this div with the ID scroll, and inside here we have this content. So we're actually getting the height from this div for the scroll bar. Now right here we can say bracket 0, and we need to call a property which is scroll height to get the scroll height. And after that we need to hide the translated content to display our loader image. Let me show you what we are going to do. Scroll above until you find the translated content. We need to add a hidden class right here, and scroll above just right here we have a loader image, and we're going to remove this hidden class. Let's just refresh the page. It hides the translate content and displays the translating image right here, as you can see. So this is what we are going to do. Just add the hidden class right here and remove the hidden class from here. So right below here we need to select the translate content from the ID, this ID, and we're going to add a class. This will be hidden class. Copy and paste, and we need to use a remove class method, and we need to remove class for loader function, loader div from here. And after that we need to scroll down. So first of all we're going to get the ID, scroll div, and then we're going to use an animate method, and here we're going to add a scroll animation. So we'll say scroll top, and here will be our scroll height we get from this scroll div. So this will be this variable, and after that here will be comma, double quote, and this will be fast to add a fast effect. Save the file, and we're going to refresh the page, and let's test this out. Let's say we want to translate into French. Click on the translate button. It displays the loader image, as you can see, and it translates the content. So that's going to be it. and see you next time.